This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences, and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences, and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. My name is Becca Dukes, and it is my honor to have you here with us today. So let's go ahead. Let's make sure that Zoom room is open, folks. This is a live show. So if you'd like to join us live, you are welcome to do so by going to zoom.dailywithdoc.com. This program is being sponsored by dailywithdoc.com. And if you'd like to get invitations and also the next day after a show, a link to the previous show, then make sure that you sign up for our email list there at dailywithdoc.com. And also, if you're on social media, look for us. And we can be found through the Critical Health News channels and also Daily with Doc channels. So make sure that you're following us, send us some love, and most of all, if you were invited by somebody specific, make sure that you get back with them and tell them thank you. They thought enough about you to share this program with you. So make sure that you thank them for doing so. Now, my name is Becca Dukes. I am the Director of Student Services for the Institute of Holistic Health. I have also been honored to be the personal assistant to the doctor that we have on today, as he has done so very much in his short life that when I found something that he had done and put it into action, I was able to turn my health around. And that includes issues with my bones and my joints. And that is what we're going to be focusing on today, folks. As to the title of today's show is, where did it go? Hip Hop to the Rescue, Nutrition for Healthy Hips. So it is my honor and privilege to be able to have with us Dr. Joel Wallach. Dr. Wallach has a Bachelor of Science in Plant and Soil Sciences, as a Doctor of Veterinary Medicine. He has 3 postdoctorates in pathology, and he is a Doctor of Naturopathic Medicine, registered and licensed in several different states. So he found a lot of stuff going through veterinary school. He wrote papers, over 77 actually. He has published peer-reviewed studies throughout his years, plus 25 books that are available on his website at drjwallach.com, and one that is held as a national treasure in the Smithsonian Museum. He is one of the original, and I think the first veterinarians to train others within the zoo systems, as part of his calling was to find the canary in the mine in zoos, something that would be most similar to humans. If there was some type of pollution or toxin that would come in, then they would know ahead of time, hey, we need to evacuate, or whatever that may be. But not only did he do that, he actually found the cause of liver cancer in zoos around the world in their bears. Now, these weren't related, so it wasn't genetic, and it had to be something that they were either being fed or not being fed. But he found that, removed that from their diets, and no new occurrences of liver cancer in bears in zoos were reported for many years. And I think that's just absolutely fabulous, because not only did he do that, he found the first non-human case of cystic fibrosis in a Rhesus monkey that was said to be, of course, human only and genetic. He proved that it was not either, and he got fired, which then brought him into teaching nutrition and becoming a naturopathic physician and implementing formulas into his clinics that worked. He would treat people like dogs, because of course he was a veterinarian of all size animals, not didn't start out as really domestic animals. But folks, he took those 3 doctorates and postdoctorates in pathology, with now close to 30,000 autopsies, whether he was hands-on or just the review, and collected data points and connected the dots. Where there were nutrients missing, disease occurred. And it was the same both in the animal world and the human world. So it is with my honor and privilege to bring to you the doctor that started this crusade in helping people go from just surviving to thriving, and helping us to make those U-turns that we need in our health. Dr. Joel Wallach, thank you so much for being here with us today. It's always an honor, Dr. Wallach, to have you share bits and pieces of your past life that have brought you to where you are now in being probably the greatest world-renowned veterinarian / naturopath. I don't know that there's any other in the world that is a national treasure. I mean, you've received awards for your study into selenium. You've sued the FDA 8 times with victories, and you keep going. You made sure that the nutrients inside a baby formula were there that would then stop or reduce sudden infant death syndrome and cystic fibrosis and neurological conditions,
including SID, sudden death syndrome.
I just said that. I think that's absolutely fantastic, because that was something whenever my firstborn was born was a fear, because I didn't want him to sleep in a crib. But then you're telling me that they were saying that mothers were suffocating them. So I was like, what do? I don't want him in a crib because I don't want him to die suddenly. And then if I sleep with him, I'll roll over and suffocate him. Well, he turned out great. Dr. Wallach, 36 years later, going strong, and called me the other day and said, Mom, I need some more of my stuff. I'm like, okay. So he is very athletic. So we've got him on the athletic pack and MSM Ultra for his joints, and just going strong, Doc. So let's talk about those joints and what we can do, because as we're reading all these different famous people having hip replacements, including some starting at the age of 48. That's just way too young for a hip replacement, Doc.
Yeah.
Why would hips lock up or not work properly?
Well, doctors wouldn't you believe these things are genetic. It happens because you're getting older. No, these are simple nutritional deficiencies. And being an athlete myself, I started going into the gym with professional athletes when I was 3 years old because my father was a world champion boxer. And so he would take me to the gym with him when I was only 3 years old. I'm seeing all these athletes there training, okay, for various sports. And they're taking all their vitamins and minerals. So I started taking vitamins and minerals when I was 3. And that's how this all started. And of course, we start looking at what's happening to people when it comes to their skeleton. The most common things, of course, are arthritis, osteoporosis. And it's one of those things where everybody is susceptible to it. It's not a genetic thing. It's a simple nutritional deficiency thing. And you get, we sued the FDA 8 times in federal court, okay, because people were getting blamed, as you say, for laying on their babies and suffocating them and all that kind of stuff. None of that was true. They didn't know what to say, and they didn't want to take the blame. So they said, oh, it's a genetic thing. Oh, the mothers are laying on the babies. There's always something that they could point to that took the pressure off the doctors. Okay, and it's one of the things where everything from Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease are preventable, they're reversible, and we have so many, which I say reverses at this point, that people are starting to contact us. Of course, I actually had an article that was accepted for publication, okay, on Parkinson's disease. And about a month later, when it was supposed to be published, they contacted me and said, well, we got so many arguments from doctors that we couldn't publish your article anymore. And that was about, I don't know, 3 years ago, something like that.
So, Dr. Wallach, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, how do they relate to hips and bones?
Okay, well, they're all nutritional deficiencies. They're all nutritional deficiencies. And when you're deficient in one nutrient, the odds are you're deficient in another one. Human beings require, like all mammals, okay, whether an elephant or a dog, okay, or a camel, or a gorilla, or a rat, or or a human being, we need 60 minerals, 60 minerals. If you're missing one, you start getting symptoms in a particular area. And once you learn that, it's easy to, okay, well, we need to do more here because we're getting that area screaming for help. And Parkinson's disease, very simple. It used to be for over 100 years, Parkinson's disease was diagnosed, which they say, and really was a bad thing. 60,000 new cases a year. 60,000 new cases a year. That was in the United States alone of Parkinson's disease. Then the last year, actually going on 2 years now, it jumped up to 90,000, went up 50%. Okay. And that's because doctors were giving people drugs to eliminate the raw materials that make the myelin in the brain. Okay.
You mean cholesterol?
Cholesterol. Yeah, you got it. Cholesterol. And so that's why it jumped 50% in 1 year. 50% in 1 year because they're giving all these people cholesterol-lowering medication, okay, because they believe cholesterol intake was causing all these problems. No, it was just the opposite. It was a cholesterol deficiency was causing the problems. And
so, Doc, and one of our viewers just put in, Brett Favre has been diagnosed with Parkinson's, who is a very famous athlete. So he's an athlete, possibly nutrient deficient.
No, absolutely nutritionally deficient. Okay. And of course, we need to get to him and say, hey, we can reverse his problem, certainly within months, but maybe sometimes in weeks. He's got a problem because he's deficient, okay, in a variety of nutrients. And so that's why we came out with the I-26. And Brett Favre, yeah, great football quarterback, okay. And they gave him the diagnosis because he couldn't function anymore. And well, you got it. No, it's not that crazy. We can get him off all the bad foods, get him on all the good foods, get him on the right supplement program. In a week, he'll be feeling better, and certainly months, it'll be gone. And he can go back and get his job back if he wants, or go on vacation with his grandkids. At any rate, even Brett Favre, a professional quarterback, got Parkinson's disease, okay? And that's because he was getting some misinformation, eating improperly, maybe having pancakes every morning, made out of wheat. Who knows how he was eating, not absorbing stuff. But we can fix him. So everybody needs to be contacting him, find out their team's telephone number and call them and say, hey, we need Brett to talk to Dr. Wallach, okay? Because he can help him reverse Parkinson's disease very quickly. We've done it hundreds of times now. And again, was actually accepted for publication. And I think it was the Chicago newspaper in Chicago. Okay. And they canceled it just before it was supposed to be printed because they were sending that article around to doctors and getting their opinions, and the doctors were freaking out. No. This is a genetic thing. You can't get rid of it by giving them a supplement. No way. And so you don't want to be connected with that stupidity. And so the newspaper canceled the printing of it, and 30,000 more people have been afflicted per year. So 90,000 per year now because of that bad mistake the newspapers made.
Well, that's unfortunate that they censored it, but Dr. Wallach, we're not gonna censor the information, which is why we're on so many different platforms that are, well, some of them, yes, some of the most popular ones do censorship. But I am so thankful that as we are going through and sharing information with the world, Dr. Wallach, that so far we haven't been taken down as we try to keep it compliant. So folks, this program is not meant to take the place of your primary care physician, nor is it meant to treat or diagnose or cure any disease, nor other products that Dr. Wallach may be mentioning on this program. But folks, it has been proven by Dr. Wallach and others that nutrients are required. Intentional supplementation is required in order to keep us thriving. So you can just barely survive and think you're doing okay because you've got this pharmaceutical to address this and this pharmaceutical to address this. But what other damage are they causing? The nice thing about supplementation is it is building cells, not creating toxicity and killing cells or suppressing the body's natural response. So Dr. Wallach, if somebody has osteoarthritis and they're having some major hip issues, like I had a torn hip capsule. Now, with a torn hip capsule, it's more of the connective tissue part of the joint. Is that correct?
If it's what?
Is it more torn hip capsule? Is that more of the connective tissue?
Yes. Now, you have to appreciate, I played sports. I was a little guy, but I played football and I wrestled and played soccer, track, and all this kind of stuff, weightlifting, and never had a problem because I'm taking all these supplements. Okay. And it's one of those things where the thing you have to appreciate is that our bones are living things, our cartilage are living things, our connective tissue are living things, and there's stuff coming in and stuff coming out. And if you're having more things going out than there are coming in, you're going to start getting problems. Doctors love osteoporosis and arthritis. It freaks me out every time I read this. Okay, it freaks me out. Arthritis each year in America. This is just America, and this is just to treat the symptoms, not to prevent it or cure it. Just to treat the symptoms of arthritis, osteoporosis, the pain, and that kind of stuff. We spend $626.8 billion a year just to treat the symptoms of arthritis. We spend
billion?
Billion, yeah. And then, let me shut this off. Sorry about that.
You don't hear it. Don't worry about it.
You don't hear it?
Nope.
Okay.
That's a great thing about background suppression.
Okay. At any rate, the thing you have to appreciate, then there's osteoporosis. Osteoporosis now between the United States, Canada, and the EU, European Union, each year we spend 6.7 trillion with a T. 6.7 trillion just to treat the symptoms, not to prevent or cure it. So 6.7 trillion plus 626.8 billion, you're looking at $7 trillion a year we're involved in spending, okay, just to treat the symptoms of arthritis and osteoporosis. It is the basic income source for medical doctors and their families, is arthritis and osteoporosis. Okay, it's not genetic, it's not due to old age, it's a simple nutritional deficiency. We learned this in animals, okay? And that's why we came up with the Arthrodex. We could give to people's, they have their little rats and they have rabbits and they have parrots and they have
cats, chickens, parrots. Yes,
all that stuff.
Parrot.
And you give them these nutrients, and they don't get osteoporosis and arthritis like humans do. Now they used to, and when an animal, like a horse would pull a wagon, would get arthritis, and they couldn't fix it, they would just go ahead and kill them and eat them. Okay, wouldn't spend a lot of time and energy or feed them. We wouldn't want to give them food and feed them and give them attention for something that was going to, keep them unable to work. Okay, and so this is something that I learned again when I was 3 years old, that all these athletes, they're taking all these minerals and vitamins and things to protect their heart, protect their bones. And the guy that I got latched onto is Theo Ratliff. Now we're talking, 10, 12, 15 years ago, whatever it is. Theo Ratliff. Huh?
Yeah. I think that was about 10 or 11 years ago. Another great athlete.
How long?
I think it's 10 or 11 years ago.
10 or 11 years ago. Okay, yeah. So Theo, 7 foot tall. Every team wanted him. He was a monster on that basketball court. Okay. But then he started getting really severe debility where he couldn't spend more than a few minutes on the court because he had severe arthritis in his hips and his knees. And soon his career was over because he couldn't play anymore. They didn't want to pay him millions of dollars every year. He couldn't play. So they took his contract away. But one of his teammates says, you need to talk to Dr. Wallach. And so he talked. And I got him to give up bad foods. Okay. I got him to take our Healthy Start Pack, but I added to it something that I made to replace bone broth. Now, bone broth has been used for thousands of years. Would drink it. They didn't know why, but it kept their bones and joints happy. When they stopped taking bone broth, their bones and joints hurt. So they kept taking the healthy bone and joint, the healthy.
I think it was the Pig Pack Plus, Dr. Wallach, which had the glucogel in it that you created.
It started out as a Pig Pack Plus, okay, and it's one of the Pig Pack Plus. Of course, had the nutrients in it, but I came up with glucogel. I came up with glucogel to replace the broth, okay, the bone broth. You didn't want bone broth anymore because it stunk up the house and heated up the house in the summertime. And so people were so happy to get the glucogel to replace it. And so we added the glucogel to the Healthy Start Pack and it became the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack. Okay. We gave that to Theo. And now remember, they took he was done. And so he gave it to Theo, and he was getting tired. So I made the rebound for him and made rebound so he could play a whole game, right? There you go. It has all the vitamins known. It has minerals. It has the plant-derived colloidal minerals and so forth from a mine up in Idaho. Okay, it has 95 minerals in it. And so it's one of those things where we did everything we could for Theo. Well, 3 months later, he gets examined again, and all his cartilage had grown back in his hips and his knees. And they were gone. They grew back. Okay, he started playing again, and he had contracts for over 9 years, almost 10 years, made $100 million in contracts after we rebuilt him with vitamins and minerals. Now he's running around the world now still telling people, okay, how the supplements helped him. He's got his children and nieces and nephews going with him around the world telling the story. And I cannot thank him enough for doing that. I mean, he could just go home and have fun, but he's going around the world and telling his story, how he went from being a total disaster to a world champion, and regrew the hips and the knee cartilage, regrew his pelvis bones, his knee bones, his leg bones, his back, his vertebrae, all the things that doctors say couldn't be done, we did. And he came back and he made $100 million in contracts. I mean, it just blows your mind when you think about it.
So when you're addressing one bone issue, you're actually working on all of them, right?
That's correct, because remember, Theo was 7 foot tall, but why did he have most of his problems he was concerned about were his knees and his hips? Because he couldn't jump up and do basketball. He couldn't play basketball, run back and forth in the court. Now he had stuff going on in his shoulders. He had stuff going on in his vertebrae. All the bones were afflicted. But the bones that had the most pressure on them gave them the most symptoms. If they didn't have a lot of pressure on them, they didn't get a lot of symptoms. And so Theo's story is a great story. And of course, it's in the book, Rare Earths Forbidden Cures. It's in the book Epigenetics. Now, Epigenetics is one of my favorite books. It replaces many books.
Got it?
Oh, got it. You got it. Okay, good. Epigenetics. There are no genetically transmitted diseases. Okay. And I have, what is it, 347 million or 347 billion.
So Dead Doctors Don't Lie has over 350 million CDs.
Is it million or billion? Million or billion?
Million with an
Million?
M.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just think about that. Over 200 million presentation. 350 million. Okay, 350 million. And just think, there's thousands and thousands of people out there playing those CDs and reading those books to people over and over and over. So they magnify, because they're easy to use tools, they magnify the number of people who get the information. It's not just based on the number, because that one CD may be listened to by 1,000 people over a period of a couple of months.
Yeah, absolutely. So folks, you can get your own copies of Dr. Wallach's publications at drjwallach.com. Now, another great testimonial, Dr. Wallach, Kathy is sharing in our chat. She's here live with us. She says, my DEXA scan was remarkably improved since following Dr. Wallach's protocols. Thank you. Thank you, Kathy, for sharing that. That is always something whenever we start on a program to help different conditions with ourselves. Whenever they do testing and we see that improvement, we see it over and over and over again. And I just love hearing the stories each and every time. Well, Dr. Wallach, we have people with their hands up, so let's go ahead and get to some questions before we run out of time. Folks, if you were referred by somebody specific, please make sure that you get back with them if you have any questions about what is being mentioned on this show today. If you have a question, please, if you're live with us, put it in, raise your hand. Raise your hand. And I'll be calling on you in the orders that the hands are received. If you're out on any of the different platforms and you have a question, we do have an amazing co-host team that is watching the chat of the different platforms so that we can bring your questions into the program as well. So let's first go to Renee. Hello, Renee. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello,
Are
Renee.
you there? There we go.
Howdy.
Howdy.
Hey, I just want to thank you for, I feel so much better since I've been on your products, but I kept getting sick, and I had somebody, naturopath in our area that said that I needed to get away from dairy. And I know that that's it's a hard question to ask you because dairy is really important to you.
Renee, what is your problem? Why were they saying you had to stay away from dairy?
Well, I have Guillain-Barré, and ever since I've gotten Guillain-Barré, I've gotten to where I have to eliminate so many foods. And
Okay,
thankfully, I get your products that keep me going.
okay,
But
what symptoms did you have?
throwing up all the time.
I'm sorry, say again?
Throwing up.
I'm missing that.
Throwing up, vomiting.
Throwing up.
Vomiting, yes. I would wake up in the morning, and that's the first thing I did was I vomited. I don't know why.
Okay, well, let me ask you a quick question. Here. Do you have any ringing in the ears, any tinnitus, any balance problems, anything like that?
Well, when I'm not feeling good, balance, yeah.
Okay.
But
yeah.
normally I'm okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, the odds are you have osteoporosis of the skull, and squeezing the 12 pairs of cranial nerves and squeezing the spinal cord. And so when you squeeze the spinal cord, and especially the 10th cranial nerve, okay, the 10th cranial nerve, your digestive system is going to show it, okay?
Yeah.
And one of those things where the whole thing has to do with the skull squeezing the 10th cranial nerve, okay? And so we need to get your brain and skull happy again. Okay, get rid of all the bad foods, no fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no gluten, no wheat, brown rice, nuts, no buckwheat, no sugar. The normal skull is at the top here. Okay, taking the top of the skull off, so the camera's looking down on the brain. The skull is a 1/4 inch thick. Thank you, I'll let you hold it there. And then the bottom skull, they took the top of the skull off. There's cameras looking down at the brain, but the skull is 1.5 inches to 2 inches thick. Now, that's not bone, that's scar tissue. It's taking the place of bone because that person has osteoporosis of the skull. And you can have it when you're born. You can have it when you're 2 years old, 10 years old, 25 years old, 50 years old, 100 years old. Okay. And there's about 50 different diseases you get because of squeezing those nerves. There's a chapter in the book, It's All in Your Head. That book she's holding up. There's a chapter for each of the 12 pairs of cranial nerves. Okay. And in each chapter, it tells you what symptoms you get when it gets squeezed. And there's all these different diseases the doctors are telling you are genetic, and they're really just osteoporosis of skull squeezing a nerve. Okay. And this is what it looks like. These are the nerves that are being squeezed when you have osteoporosis of the skull. You can see the tissues that they're going to. And of course, chapter. There's a chapter. That's the next page after the picture of the skull. It's on page 7. There you go. And then there's a chapter for each of the nerves. And of course, we came up with the CD to go along with the spinal cord. There's over 50 different diseases you get, and doctors are diagnosing them as genetic diseases of aging. Really, they're just simple nutritional deficiencies causing osteoporosis of the skull. They don't teach osteoporosis of the skull in medical school. I'm the guy who kind of discovered it, because I was doing all those autopsies to work my way through veterinary school,
Right.
seeing osteoporosis on the autopsy table, okay, osteoporosis of the skull. And then I would go back to the clinical records that the doctor sent with the bodies, and there was nothing in there about osteoporosis of the skull in those clinical records. And I went back through hundreds of them, nothing about osteoporosis of the skull. So that's why we came out with an article. And then it was so well received, we came out with this book, 30 pages. It's got an enormous amount of life improving, lifespan improving results based on supplementation and changing diet.
Well, I'm gonna have to buy that book, but I wanted to ask you, what do you think about plant-derived
Well, plant-derived minerals. Are you talking about plant-derived minerals?
no, dairy? Because
Plant-based dairy, like
stay away from dairy. So I've been doing plant-derived dairy, and then well, I can barely.
Okay, now are you talking about artificial dairy made from plants?
Well,
like soy milk.
well, no, I can't do soy, but I've been doing VioLife. I don't know if
Okay,
any.
okay, well, stop there. You're,
Okay.
you're looking in the wrong direction. You know, you have a flat tire in your car, but you're looking at the windshield wipers. Okay, you're not looking in the right direction. You need to get rid of all the bad foods, no fried foods, no processed meats, no oils.
I don't eat any of that stuff. I have been off of that stuff for a long time.
Be good. Now you need.
And I can barely eat any food. And my Guillain-Barré is creating a huge problem in my life.
Okay, well, if you'll listen, you'll get some information that'll make that problem go away. We deal with thousands of people a month around the world that have this problem. This is a very simple problem to deal with. Doctors are giving you information to try and relieve pain and symptoms. People are very happy when they relieve pain and symptoms, but it gets continually worse and worse and worse and worse until finally the pain and symptom medication doesn't work anymore. Okay, you have to rebuild the skull, get it down from an inch and a half thick back down to a quarter of an inch thick, open up those tunnels, take the pressure off those 12 pairs of cranial nerves, take the pressure off the spinal cord. And you want to get the set where it's all in your head. It's 30 pages, goes into the 12 pairs of cranial nerves, but also the CD comes along with it. Okay, the CD comes along with it, and the CD is totally devoted to all the diseases that occur when you have osteoporosis of the skull, squeezing the spinal cord. You don't feel any pain in the spinal cord where it comes from the skull. You feel the pain in your big toe in your right foot. The doctors say, well, we've given you everything, let's just amputate the toe. So they cut your toe off. The doctor gets a couple $100 or $1,000 or whatever it is from insurance, and he's happy, you're happy. But then a month or later, 6 months later, you get something more severe happen in your skeletal system, and it could cripple you. And so this is, when you look at the Theo Ratliff story, guy 7 foot tall, weighed well over 200 pounds, and we were able to rebuild him to where he could get and play professional basketball back and forth in that court for an hour, where before he couldn't even stand up. Okay, and so it's one of those things where we have an enormous amount of experience. We have an enormous amount of success. We put it all in these books and CDs and things. Also, the book Rare Earths Forbidden Cures goes into this. Really, it's really getting popular. The book Rare Earths Forbidden Cures. And you can get a hair analysis. It teaches you how to get a hair analysis so you can determine your mineral deficiencies. The hair analysis is how you find out what minerals are reduced, which ones are gone. And so you need a minimum of 60 minerals. You need 60 essential minerals to repair everything in your skeletal system. Okay, but you can get osteoporosis when you're an embryo. You can get an arthritis when you're an embryo. You can get it when you're 1 year old, 5 years old, 10 years old, 100 years old, 200 years old. And osteoporosis and arthritis are the banking system for the medical system.
So Dr. Wallach, she's having digestive issues. Is there anything specific that can help with the digestive issues?
Well,
Now,
symptom stuff. You use we have the what?
so we got the ultimate enzymes.
Yeah.
We have the pre plus probiotics that are very.
We have that stuff. And it's going
And
to
we
treat
also have the
symptoms.
I-26.
Okay, well, the I-26, yeah. The I-26 helps in a different way, but you can take the take all these wonderful things that will help you reduce symptoms and help you digest. The enzymes are just fabulous in this situation here. I take 3 of those twice a day, or ultimate enzymes, and they help digest food and so forth, and so that they're more easily absorbed, more efficiently absorbed. But this problem is one that will gradually get worse and worse and worse and worse. And it goes from something that's happening down in your toe, ringing in your ears, balance problems, and suddenly now the doctor wants to do an operation and give you an artificial hip, and then he wants to give you artificial knees, and then he wants to give you artificial shoulders, and so forth, because the raw materials necessary to maintain the bones, the cartilage, the ligaments, the tendons, the connective tissue are not there anymore. And it's kind of like you're driving your car and there's no oil being put in the car. No oil.
Right.
Your engine is going to burn up.
So many of us like to have some type of like milk or cream. Her doctor's telling her that she can't have these things. And her question,
get a new
change
doctor.
Doctors?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to sue the FDA 8 times in federal court, okay, to get something to save babies from cystic fibrosis and muscular dystrophy and son of death syndrome. I sued the FDA 8 times in federal court. I sold my farm. My mother sold her farm. And we've sued the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, 8 times in federal court over a period, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. We won every time. And they finally gave up because they said, this Wallach guy is not going to give up. And they spent $80 million suing me. Okay.
Wow.
Because they would lose every time. So they went to a lot of trouble because they were so embarrassed. They just threw up their hands and said, enough is enough. So we finally got all these minerals and dairy products into baby formulas. And within a couple of months after it was actually legally put into baby formulas, all these issues with bones and joints and muscular dystrophy, SIDS, cystic fibrosis, they all went away. You don't hear about those things anymore. You ask a kid, you ever hear of muscular dystrophy? No. You ever hear Jerry Lewis? Who's that? You don't know. It's all gone because we sued the FDA 8 times in federal court and won.
So Doc, when we're looking at beverages, we want to make sure that there's no added oils, correct?
That's correct.
On the bad foods list, which people can find on dailywithdoc.com, it says no bottled oils. So that includes oils that are added into things like our salad dressings, our beverages that are non-dairy, like almond milk, cashew milk, soy milk. You want to read the labels. Read the labels and make sure there aren't any bad foods in there. So thank you so much, Dr. Wallach, for sharing some information that'll help Renee with digestive issues. I know she's come a long way. She's feeling better, but there's still a few things that she's working on. And it takes time, right?
It takes a little time, but she needs the enzymes. She needs the 90 essential nutrients. She needs the glucogel, right? And she needs those enzymes. And wouldn't hurt for her also to throw in the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets, 3 of those twice a day. They're going to help her circulation, blood circulation into her brain and her heart, her digestive system, and her kidneys. And we have so many different things for digestion. Try this one, try that one, but make sure you're getting the enzymes.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Wallach. And make sure you're eliminating those foods that are causing issues. And sometimes it is going to be dairy for a while our systems are repairing. So Dr. Wallach, let's go to the next hand that is up. And AJ, what question are you bringing into Daily with Doc today?
Doc, I got a couple, I got a comment and a question. There's these athletes that talk about getting their hip replaced and how they feel fantastic after getting their hip replaced. And obviously, I've heard many horror stories of other people who said they got a hip replaced and it's even worse and they're feeling worse. I myself had a cracked hip when I started taking the 90. I actually had no expectation that I would feel better. I thought that I would need surgery, but within about 10 days, I'm playing basketball and I'm jumping around like a madman. So I can testify to the benefit of nutrition, but why such disparate results are these folks getting, and what really should we be telling people to do or advising them to do?
Well, you hit something that most people don't talk about. AJ, you get an A+, okay? Because what do we need to eliminate? Okay, now this is one of those things you always hear me say: get rid of all the bad foods, no fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens. Now that's very, very important, no glutens. Now, back when I was a kid, everybody had pancakes every Saturday, and the pancakes, were made, okay, from buckwheat. You remember buckwheat pancakes?
Oh, I used to love them.
Yeah. Well, they cause those little villi, those finger-like absorptive things in your intestine, which increase the absorptive surface by about 90%. Okay. Those villi go away. So suddenly now, instead of having a shag rug lining your intestine, more absorptive surface, now you got just a plastic tube. Okay. So even if you're doing all the right stuff, unless you're getting rid of the bad foods, you're not going to have the main response you're looking for, because you're not going to have enough absorption surface. Okay. So all these things are very important. And I've dealt with professional athletes all over the world, every sport. I've dealt with people. And when you look at this is why we came out with the flip chart. I think there's probably, maybe 8 or 10 famous people in this flip chart whose lives were over. They were like dying. Okay. And they had the best doctors in the world. These were billionaires. Okay. And so they had bone problems, they had heart problems, they had kidney problems, they had liver problems, they had brain problems, they had back problems, they had hip problems, knee problems. And we got rid of all that in weeks and months. And so I didn't charge them anything, okay, except for the supplements. I didn't charge them anything for my services, just charging for the supplements. And they were just, their mouths hanging open because the doctors they've been spending millions of dollars with didn't help them any. And so they said, anything we can do, let us know. So I said, wait, give me a couple of paragraphs of how you started, what happened here, and how long it took for you to get, you're prepared. And we have movie actors, we have great athletes, we have great politicians, we have people who are great business people and billionaires. And these people, we have their pictures, we have their story right out of their mouth, okay? And the flip chart, 77 pages. Everybody should get maybe 5 or 10 of those. Make sure that they're giving them to their families, their children, their mom and dad, their grandma and grandpa, their pastors, their teachers, their coaches, their teammates. Everybody needs to get a hold of these flip charts, because when you read these testimonies from these famous people, your mouth will drop open and say, well, I had the same problem. The doctor says there's nothing we can do about it. Okay. Well, let's do what we did for so-and-so. Okay. And again, I like page 26 and 27, okay, in the flip chart, because they go into the diseases that occur when you're missing the raw materials to make myelin, the white matter in the brain and spinal cord. The white matter in the brain and spinal cord make up 85% of the mass of the brain and spinal cord. 85% of the mass of spinal cord and the brain are myelin, this white sort of insulation material on the nerves and cells in the brain. When it goes away, you get Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, Huntington's chorea, frontotemporal dementia, Charcot-Marie tooth, Bell's palsy, cervical spondylosis, carpal tunnel syndrome, brain or spinal cord disease. And there's a whole list of neuropathies, okay? They call them hereditary neuropathies, okay? Premature palsies, in other words, kids getting palsies where they're getting all kinds of shakes and all kinds of stuff. And it goes along with Parkinson's disease. Well, you get them off all the bad foods, get them on the 90, and then you give them our I-26, okay, give them the I-26, give them the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets for circulation, and 99.99% of the time, in a couple of days or a week, they will see improvement. In a couple of weeks, they see major improvement. In a couple more weeks, they see a really major improvement. And within 90 days, it's gone. So that's why I always say, give us 90 days, because we have so much experience around the world with these diseases, and we've been successful. And you see things happening positively in weeks, and by 90 days, they're perfectly normal.
Absolutely, Doc. And when people say, talk about other nutrition, or, this nutrition stuff is all hokey pokey, I always remind them, well, did your doctor sell his farm and his mother's farm to sue the FDA 10 times, 8 times in federal court? And did your doctor win 8 times? And they can't say yes. So you're the man, Doc.
Thank you. But let's help as many as we can. And we can't thank you enough, AJ, because you are just fabulous getting that information out there. We cannot thank you enough.
Yep. Thank you both, gentlemen, for all that you do and helping to make this program great, as we are helping people around the world. And Dr. Wallach, I have an email that came in from Nancy. Nancy says, my heart rate is racing to 215. My doc wants me on a beta blocker. All other heart tests are normal. The meds made me ache all over. What can I do naturally to lower this racing? It happened after a steroid shot in my hip 4 months ago. So is there a connection between having hip issue that requires a steroid and possibly the heart rate?
Yes, because it could be osteoporosis of the skull. Okay, probably osteoporosis of the skull. And the 10th cranial nerve, the vagus nerve, tells the heart what to do. Okay, and so you need to get rid of all the bad stuff. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no gluten, no wheat, brown nuts, no buckwheat, no sugar, no carbonated drinks. Even the diet one's got to go. And then we need to have this person take 2 healthy brain and heart packs per month, a full dose of breakfast and dinner time. They need the glucogel. I'd have them take 3 at breakfast, 3 at lunch, 3 at dinner time to rebuild the bones and the cartilage and ligaments and tendons and connective tissue. Okay. And then let's see here.
MSM Ultra.
Okay, there you go. And OsteoFX. We talked about that. We also need the some anti-inflammatory stuff. What would be your recommendation for anti-inflammatory stuff?
Well, the MSM Ultra is anti-inflammatory. The tangerine and the OsteoFX are inflammatory. So is the essential fatty acids that are anti-inflammatory. We've got the glucogel you mentioned, which is going to give support. I-26 is going to help with digestion and also give the liver what it needs to build that sheath that protects the nerves that are going down into the hip and also into the heart.
There you go. And so this is something that'll she'll go to bed one night, it hasn't changed much, wake up in the morning, it's gone. It's going to be that quick. Okay, so she needs to take all this stuff that we've talked about, stay away from the bad stuff.
And de-stress. De-stress is one more, Dr. Wallach, that I've been recommending for people with irregular heartbeats, and it's really helped as well.
What's that?
The de-stress.
Oh, de-stress, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those things where We have
There's a lot.
we have
There's a
two-
lot that can be
we have
recommended.
2,500 products.
There's quite a few products, Dr. Wallach, but everybody doesn't need to take all of them. But we do have options to help people meet their budget and also their likings. So whether you prefer concentrate, powders that you add liquid to, or capsules and pills, there's a lot of different options that we can help the individual be able to get the nutrients into their bodies. And dead doctors don't lie, Doc.
Okay, dead doctors don't lie. And also, again, my epigenetics. Okay, because
And
doctors start
epigenetics.
talking about genetics. You get the book Epigenetics. This replaces, and I got the Klaus Schwartz Award for this one. Okay, there you go. And it's one of those things where these things are preventable and they're reversible. Why not give it a try? You have everything to gain and nothing to lose by giving it a try. And you'll have a great story if you do this, because we have so many successes in over 30 countries. Over 30 countries. This is a universal set of problems, and there's a universal set of
Solutions.
yeah, the formula to be able to rebuild everything. So why not get on the formula that has helped millions of people? Literally, we've helped millions of people in all these countries around the world. Okay, over a period of what, just 75 years. And it's one of those things where make sure that you're doing everything you can for yourself. And of course, if the doctors want to give you some cortisone or something to relieve inflammation, there's nothing wrong with that. But if that's all you do, it'll actually accelerate the downturn. Well, actually, when you take a lot of cortisone, it'll actually cause an acceleration of, it'll relieve the pain and inflammation, but the loss of tissue will continue.
So if you're masking the pain, then you're going to keep going and keep wearing it down without giving it nutrition to build it back up.
That's correct. And that's a scary thing. That's a scary thing. And see, I was just
That is
walking down the street and I heard a crack in I fell down and I broke my hip. I was just walking down the street. Okay, well, just remember, your bones are living tissue. They're not concrete. They're not iron. Okay, they're living tissue. As you're losing the material in that bone, it's getting weaker and weaker and weaker. When you put a certain stress on it, it's going to crack. You're going to get a fracture. Okay, and this is why people, I don't know what happened. I just stood up. I was sitting watching TV and I stood up and heard crack and I broke my hip just below the joint. And I don't know what happened. I didn't get hit by a truck or anything. I was just sitting there watching TV. Okay. And that's because that had been going on for quite some time. And maybe they were taking aspirin once in a while because they had a little pain in their knee or their hip. And a little aspirin can get rid of some pain, but it's not going to give you the raw materials you need to maintain and repair and replace connective tissue and bone.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Wallach. And Dr. Wallach, we are right up close to the top of the hour. And we do have a question that Leslie wants to know, what is the best way to whiten teeth safely? Do you have a solution for that one?
To whiten teeth safely?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's toothpaste.
You got to choose the right toothpaste, Dr. Wallach, because you choose the wrong toothpaste, which is why she's asking. It just adds more toxicity to the body. So there are some things that you can do, folks. One thing that I use is a baking soda mixed with an essential oil called Big Smile, just a couple drops. And I use that after using my toothpaste that, yes, is from Longevity. It includes the muscadine grape. So I absolutely love our Nature's Pearl toothpaste. And we also have activated charcoal that can be used with that toothpaste and done a couple times a week or month to help whiten those pearly whites. So Dr. Wallach, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm going to get my crew up here with me. Thank you so much, as we have Ruth Ellen Sanchez, who is our executive production manager and helping to make sure that everything is rolling smoothly and correctly and keeping us organized. We have Marilyn, who is putting information into the chat. So if you are here live with us, you can make sure that you turn that chat on, because that's information that is not shared anywhere else, as she is doing dictation. And we have Albert coming from South Africa, joining us and letting people into our live Zoom room. And we have AJ, who is responsible for all but 2 of the platforms, 3 maybe, of the platforms that we are streaming on, and he is making sure that that stream does go through smoothly, plus getting things posted and creating the short reels and everything, just so that you have information that you can use yourself and share. Folks, if you are referred to this program by somebody specific, make sure that you get back with them, as they took the time and cared enough about you and knew that you would benefit from the information that's shared in this program today. If there is no one to thank, give us a call. We have a team standing by on our call team at 855-949-3377, 855-949-3377. And if we did not get to your question today, please email us questions@dailywithdoc.com. Again, that's questions@dailywithdoc.com. Now, we are looking for people to help us on this crusade. So if you are business-minded or minded to the point where you just care enough about people, you want to share information with others, there is nothing wrong with getting a thank you check for sharing good health with others, folks. We invite you to join us in this crusade that Dr. Wallach started many years ago. So get back with the person that shared this program with you and ask them how you can be part of the solution. And if there's no one to ask, you don't have anybody, you've never tried any of the products that were mentioned on today's program, then feel free to reach out to us either by phone, 855-949-3377, or email info@dailywithdoc.com. Folks, thank you so much for joining us today. Tomorrow is Pharmacist Friday, where we will have pharmacist Ben Fuchs with us, and we will be talking about fats, good fats, bad fats. And if you did not catch last night's Pharmacist Ben Bites with Coach AJ, you definitely want to make sure that you get on that. You can find it by typing in Pharmacist Ben Bites and the date. So yesterday was 9/25/2024. My name is Becca Dukes. Thank you so much for joining us. If you would like to become a certified holistic health coach, we invite you to check that program out. It is offered by the Institute of Holistic Health, and you can get more information about it by going to coach.dailywithdoc.com. That is coach.dailywithdoc.com. Until next time, thank you so much, Doc.
Bye, everybody.
Bye for
Thank
now.
you, Becca. Thank you, team. All this funny best at toxins in Africa. Bye-bye,
Toxins.
everybody.
Bye-bye, Doc.
This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences, and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences, and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach.